Welcome back to another edition of The Explainer. Today we are going on an absolute thrill ride of an expedition. We are leaving the familiar behind and traveling to the most isolated, untouched, and uncharted corners of the globe. From pitch-black oceanic trenches to incredibly dense, impenetrable forest canopies, we're tracking down animals so hyper-specialized to their extreme environments that they quite literally defy our basic understanding of biology.
So think about this for a second. What if the absolute strangest creatures on Earth have already been caught on camera, but scientists are still trying to fully comprehend them? I mean, for centuries, sailors and explorers brought back wild tales of monsters. And yeah, sure, many of those sightings turned out to be myths or optical illusions or just simple misunderstandings. But the truth is actually far more incredible. There are fully documented, utterly bizarre animals living deep in the wild right now.
Now, before we set off, let's lay down some ground rules for today's explainer. Everything we cover is 100% real, scientifically documented, and absolutely no myths. We aren't talking about Bigfoot, cryptids, or some random internet hoax today. Our strict adherence to reality means that everything on this journey, every bizarre adaptation and unsettling physical trait, is a verified, living marvel of evolution. The stakes for survival out in these remote wilderness zones are unbelievably high, and as you'll see, nature has engineered some truly mind-bending solutions.
Section 1. Descent into the Abyss. Journey into the Unknown. Okay, let's dive into this. Literally, our expedition begins by plunging straight down into the pitch-black, crushing void of the deep ocean floor. We're talking about an alien landscape right here on our own planet, totally devoid of sunlight and warmth.
Picture this. We are descending 4,000 meters beneath the waves. Down here, the pressure is immense. The temperatures are hovering near freezing, and the wilderness is just vast and empty. It's an extreme environment where only the most uniquely adapted species can even hope to survive. And it's here, in this eternal darkness, that the first of our bizarre creatures lurks on patrol. Let's break down the Goblin Shark's hunting sequence, because honestly, it is straight out of a nightmare. First, it slowly patrols the pitch-black depths, looking almost like this ghostly relic from the dinosaur age. Since it can't see, it relies entirely on highly sensitive organs to detect the incredibly faint electrical currents generated by the muscles of nearby prey. And then comes the kill. It deploys a terrifying slingshot jaw extension. The shark's jaw literally unhinges and snaps forward out of its face to snatch up prey in the dark. I mean, there is no way the victim even knows what hit them.
Now, down in these deep, dark ocean trenches, finding food is incredibly hard, but avoiding becoming food? That's even harder. And that brings us to bioluminescence, the biochemical emission of light by living organisms. It is an absolutely crucial survival tool in this remote habitat. Take the vampire squid, for example. When threatened, instead of spraying a cloud of black ink, which, let's be real, would be completely useless in an environment that's already pitch black, it ejects a cloud of glowing, bioluminescent mucus. This dazzling burst of floating light completely disorients predators, letting the squid just slip away into the abyss.
You see, extreme isolation creates wildly different survival mechanisms. Look at the Dumbo octopus. It's the deepest living octopus ever found, and it developed these adorable ear-like fins to gently hover and conserve energy in the dark. Or how about the giant isopod, living way down on the cold, dark ocean floor? It exhibits what's called deep-sea gigantism. So this relative of your common garden pillbug has grown to the size of a football. It looks like a massive armored insect. And finally, the blob sculpin. To survive the crushing pressure of the extreme depths, it evolved a completely gelatinous body with almost no muscle, allowing it to just effortlessly float above the seafloor without being crushed.
But this was only the beginning. Because as incredible as these deep-sea survivors are, our expedition's got to press on. We are leaving the crushing oceanic abyss behind and traveling to a completely different type of uncharted wilderness.
Section 2. Shadows of the Forest. Secrets of Isolated Jungles. Imagine pulling yourself out of the water and stepping into a remote, dense, impenetrable forest canopy. We are talking about isolated jungles, islands that have been completely cut off from the rest of the world for millions of years. In these closed canopy environments, life has evolved in total isolation, and man has it branched off into some incredibly strange directions.
Let's talk about the bizarre biology of the eye. Found only in the remote forests of Madagascar, this is an exceptionally rare, nocturnal lemur. It's got continuously growing incisors like a rodent, these huge bat-like ears, and, most famously, this very unsettling, highly elongated skeletal middle finger. Some local legends actually consider it an omen of bad luck, but biologically, it's a masterpiece.
It rapidly taps that skeletal finger against tree trunks, using an echolocation-like hearing to listen for the movement of grubs deep inside the wood. When it finds one, it chews a hole and uses that long finger to just fish out its meal. So yeah, it might look almost demonic to some, but it's a perfectly adapted biological marvel for its isolated forest home.
Now, contrast a standard amphibian, opaque skin, relies on external colors to camouflage into the leaves, with the glass frog found high up in the cloud forests of Central and South America. The glass frog takes jungle camouflage to an entirely different level. Its underbelly is completely translucent. Literally, if you look at one from below, you can see its tiny beating heart, its intestines, and its liver, all functioning in real time. It uses this transparency as the ultimate camouflage, allowing the light and color of the leaves it sits on to just shine right through its body, making it practically invisible to predators below.
At first glance, it doesn't even look real. Honestly, that thought perfectly captures the feeling scientists get when documenting these creatures in the wild. But we've got to keep moving. We're leaving the lush, humid jungles behind for harsh, terrestrial frontiers that feel entirely alien.
Section 3. Remote Wilderness Frontiers. Surviving Bizarre Landscapes. We've now arrived at unforgiving, barren plains and hyper-specialized coastal reefs. These are locations where the climate and geography are so extreme that the animals living here have quite literally morphed their bodies to match their surroundings. So while a typical antelope has a standard snout, perfectly fine for breathing in temperate climates, the critically endangered saiga antelope is built for the harsh, barren steppes of Central Asia. It possesses this bulbous, alien-like, drooping snout. And sure, at first glance it might look almost comical, but it's actually a highly efficient, absolutely necessary survival tool. During the dry summers, this specialized nose filters out immense amounts of dust kicked up by the herd. Then, during brutal, freezing winters, that massive nasal cavity warms the freezing air before it even hits the animal's lungs. It's a bizarre face for sure, but built exclusively for a bizarre landscape. And speaking of matching your surroundings, get a load of the leafy sea dragon. Living off the southern and western coasts of Australia, this creature is an absolute master of disguise, vanishing seamlessly into uncharted kelp forests. Its entire body is covered in these leaf-like appendages that perfectly mimic floating seaweeds swaying in the ocean current. This hyper-specialization makes it nearly impossible for predators, and even marine biologists with high-tech cameras, to spot them.
And this brilliantly illustrates our core theme today, doesn't it? That isolation and extreme environments breed unparalleled biological wonders. Which perfectly prepares us for our final destination on today's expedition. Section 4, the final bizarre enigma, the ultimate mystery. To really understand our final creature, we first need to grasp the concept of tubular eyes. These are highly specialized, cylindrical eyes that absolutely excel at gathering the faintest traces of light in remote, oceanic twilight zones. The crucial point here is that creatures with this adaptation can see the silhouettes of food swimming above them in near-total darkness. But how they accommodate these eyes, well, that is what's going to blow your mind.
I present to you the Barreleye Fish. Yes, this is a scientifically documented fact, a deep-sea creature with a completely fluid-filled, transparent head. You see those two green spheres inside the clear dome? Those are its highly sensitive tubular eyes. It literally looks upward, directly through its own transparent skull to spot the shadows of tiny prey trapped in the faint light above. Meanwhile, what looks like eyes on the front of its face, those are actually olfactory organs, basically its nostrils. The mind-bending reality of the Barreleye fish is the ultimate proof that truth in the wild is way stranger and far more spectacular than any fiction we could invent. So, as we wrap up this wild wilderness expedition, I've got to ask, which mysterious creature surprised you the most? Was it the terrifying slingshot jaw of the Goblin Shark, the translucent camouflage of the glass frog, or the completely transparent head of the Barreleye fish? Nature still holds countless undocumented mysteries just waiting to be caught on camera out in these remote, uncharted locations. Keep wondering, keep exploring, and as always, thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I'll see you on the next adventure.